All right. So
Well, one thing I wanted to tell you was my mom had, in her family, there were 12 kids.
Mhm.
And they lived in a little bitty house. You know, I don't know where they put them all. You know, I never got into that. And that's so sad that now everybody's gone and I never will know.
Mhm.
You know, all the people, their neighbors are their age. I
My-
don't know how they lived in it.
My grandpa wrote there was 9 kids, and they had a 2-room house with an attic. They all slept in the attic.
Wow.
Oh.
Just amazes you
And
how they get along.
His mom was blind.
Hmm.
Yep.
From birth or
She became blind.
became like?
I don't know if she had glaucoma. think
Ah,
it
I
was
see.
During that time, but I mean, she raised the kids basically as she was blind.
Wow.
Okay. What?
So the next story, the first story, is barbecue sauce.
That was a lot of work, honey. Well, let's see, how did we get started in it?
You went to work.
I went to work
cooking
down there to help, yeah.
during
And
the summer months.
during the summer months, because we worked as janitors at the high school
Mhm.
in the winter months. And so I decided I needed something to do, and I went down there, applied, and got a job down there. And then they decided that they were getting too old, those people did, that they didn't really want to mess with it any longer. And I
Mhm.
said, well, then what are you going to do with it? You know, I didn't just want it to go because it was something that they had letters from all over the country. I mean, across the oceans and everywhere, you know, from people that wanted it.
Yeah.
And so many people surprised me that people would come to Little River to get it,
Yeah.
you know. And so Dad and I talked about it and wondered there wasn't any way, you know. I mean, we were poor people too, and how we would do any of it. And we talked to the banks and things, and would talk about it
You were buying what they called blue sky.
because there was no.
There was
the
no
recipe
assets.
was all that was there,
Right.
you know, and we had a hard time finding financing for it, and finally got it. And if we hadn't known, I wished we would have sold stock in it and would have gained it that way.
Mhm.
I think maybe we would have been better off, I don't know. Where'd your
Yeah.
pacifier go? It's right under your
Right,
chin.
chin.
So I don't know if it's one of those gambles that we took, and
Mhm.
if we'd have been,
Well,
if we'd have
it-
had
it
you
was-
there more business wise, you know, I think we just didn't know. We were
it was-
farmers
It
Mhm.
was a hobby
for those people.
for those people, and the best they ever done was probably 35,000 a year in sales.
Mhm.
And the first year that we had it, I went out and I increased business every trip that we made, because I had to go to Okmulgee, Oklahoma to get at the ball plant to get our glass
Our glass.
quarts
For
and
the
pints.
houses.
And we had the restaurants and and I didn't get another grocery store each time, but anyway, our first year I had $350,000 in sales. But the thing of it was, is by the time we made the sale, when we went back to repurchase the product, the raw materials had almost doubled in price.
Mhm.
And interest rates went out of sight, over 22% interest the banks were charging that.
Right.
And that killed us.
Yeah.
So we needed financial help.
We needed
Yeah.
financial help, and the lawyer that we went to, he wanted it.
Mhm.
He wanted the business. So he wasn't much help as far as financial.
And our accountant was worse.
We had a crooked accountant, and Randy said when he first met him, he said, "Mom, that's the crookedest man I've ever seen." And I
Yeah.
wish we would have listened to him. I wish to goodness that we would have listened to him. He asked me, he said, "Well, you know how you can make profit?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "You can water it down."
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm not going to water that down." I said, "Well, what would that do to the taste to it and things? Besides, that would be, you know, wrong for the public. You can't put water down on that." You know, I said, we had special ketchup that came from California, you
Mhm.
know, that we had to buy for the truckload.
Fancy kitchen.
and I said, we just can't do that. Well, then you'll just, you just might as well forget it. He was really I don't know where he would come from, but anyway, he got us into well, he said, well, let's see if we can sell stock. Well, that didn't, he tried it, and he wasn't doing it because he was wanting the business for himself. So where'd it go from there then?
He says I can get you we'll get 2 silent partners,
Yeah, silent partners.
and they'll invest the money and so we get back in, and they'll build you a new plant. So they built the plant.
In Hutchinson.
But they had no intentions of us being involved in it. They wanted to take it over.
Yeah.
And that's what they did.
But we had, the years that we had it were very enjoyable. The kids all enjoyed it. I mean, Rich just loved it. He still wants us to, I mean, here a while back, wanted us to do it. But, it's hard work. We work 7 days a week, and you had to keep it going enough to keep up with the orders all the time.
It seems kind of amazing to me that Rich and my dad still like ketchup. As
Yeah,
much ketchup
I
as
know.
they-
After all they went through of messing with that stuff, that's kind of why I'm against, barbecue to me, I just don't care for it now. It's not, I can eat it, but it's not something, that was our house we lived in
Yeah.
Little River.
Mhm.
I went,
Remember.
I'd go down 5 o'clock every morning to start the vats going. When we bought it, there was one vat.
One vat, big
It wasn't long we knew one vat wouldn't keep up, so we went and bought another one from down here and got 2 vats going, and then I would load up and head up.
And then I and the boys would come down and
Bottle it.
finish putting the stuff in it and cooking it as long as it had to be cooked, and knew by the consistency of it when it was ready, and then we would start bottling it.
Mhm.
And then after it was bottled, of course, it had to be labeled. And then when Dad was down in Oklahoma, he got started into. Yes, he did too. Frankoma pottery.
Mhm.
And so then we ended up buying the store next door to us and cutting a hole in the wall, which went over big with the people we had bought it from. They about had a fit. But we done really good selling Frankoma. I mean,
Mhm.
he'd bring loads of it back. When he took loads of curlies down there, he could bring it back to sell,
Mhm.
which is still this day, Frankoma is a famous pottery, And we would decorate the windows in Little River. Everybody just have a fit, for Christmas and everything, and nobody ever did that
Mhm.
for anything like that. But then when this guy got a hold of it, and he took Dad, and I didn't know this till later. He told Dad, he said, come on with me, and he said, we're gonna go talk about taking on these silent partners. He had a gun in the car, in between the seats. Dad told me later.
Hmm.
So I don't know if he was thinking he was gonna get rid of Dad or what, but these silent partners was as bad as he was. They just simply took it away from us. And the thing of it was, they forged our name, and had we had a lawyer that was on the ball, they kept forging our name, saying we went to meetings as
Well,
a corporation in
It was a
Topeka.
corporation.
And we didn't
in
ever
Topeka.
attend the meetings, but our names were on the papers.
Yeah.
So they had to forge them because we didn't ever attend the meetings. We didn't know when they were.
Yeah.
And so they ended up, one day I went to work, or no, Dad went to work, and that guy was waiting on him. He said, you don't work here anymore. And Dad was standing outside, and then when I got down there and I said, what's going on? He said, well, they just took it away from us. So, and he'd brought a guy in from Canton Galville, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That was doing the spine and things on us and seeing what we was doing. And, we had a good setup there. So we could really bottle it. We had a lot of people helping us too and getting it out. But he wasn't interested. I had it, when we left Little River, I had it started to being shipped to China and England and all that. And he didn't want to do
Japan.
any of that.
Mhm.
And that would have really put us up there if we could just had the money. And then afterwards, Gary's dad told us that he would have helped, if he would have just said something, or we could have had a little bit of help.
Mhm.
But we couldn't seem to get it at the time. I always regret it, and I know the kids all do too, because they wanted it, and that's what we bought it for, as a deal for them to have when we were gone.
Mhm.
But it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
And now it's watered down.
watered down.
Got water in it now. We didn't put no water in it.
It was the original recipe. And then we also had, what was it? The wet end hamburgers.
Curly's famous hickory burger.
Yeah. And we had a special thing we put in there that they added to the, really it was cumin is what it was, but we added it to it. So kind of a mix that you put in with hamburgers and make it really famous hickory burgers. And there's still some stores that have them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they was mad because we wouldn't tell them what it was, you know, the people that was their ingredients in it.
Yeah.
And he said his daughter finally figured it out. I don't know where they found it out. And I've still got the original recipe for curlies.
Yeah.
And legally we could start it up again because after so many years their patent thing runs out.
Yeah.
So, but it's a lot of work, lots of work.
Yeah.
Dad would go out every day and every day and every day and find the girls, and we hired, well, we had 3 people. We had one out in front that ran the desk. Yes, we did too, Sis. And 2 that helped Bob. And of course the kids, and boys went to college then. That's the way we paid for their way through college. You know, it was through that.
Mm-hmm.
When Dad and I got married, that was one thing we agreed on, that the one thing we wanted was for our kids to have a college education, and we decided then that however it took, whatever it took us to pay for it, that was the way it was gonna be.
Yeah.
So thank goodness. The only one that had to pay, was Rhonda when she went, to
Her
get
master's.
her master's.
Yeah.
She had to pay some on that, but that's all. Yeah, boys didn't ever have to. But that's the way we paid for it, was through Curly's.
Yeah.
Okay, look at that. No, I'm tickling you. I'm tickling you.
So the next story was about the 1972 tornado.
That was nasty, honey.
In Little River.
In Little River. Seen it coming, and Rich was in town at Scouts. And did we?
Cub Scouts.
Was I already in town, or did I come in to get him?
You came in to get
I
him.
came in. I and Randy and Rhonda came in to get him. And when they were there, they just begged me to come in the store. And I went by the store to pick up something, and they begged me to come in there and stay in the basement with them.
Mhm.
And I said no, because I've still got one child that's out there, and that's when Ron was going to
Junior
Wyndham.
high at
Mhm.
Wyndham. Yep.
And I could not go and not know where he was at. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm just sorry. There's no way you'd go leave a child. I couldn't. Listen to her. Yeah, you listening and you're getting this off? Okay.
Yeah, Grandpa.
And so
We're talking about
we left and started north of town, and Randy kept saying, "Mom, it's right there, right there." Well, I couldn't see; it was behind me and to the left. But he just kept saying, "Mom, Mom, it's right there. It's just right there." You know, well, right there. I didn't know how close that was. You know.
Yeah.
And we had to go across that big bridge. And so I said, finally he just said, "Mom, it's right on us right now." And I just said, then just get out of the car, and even don't have to shut the door, just get under the bridge as far as you can.
It wasn't even raining either.
No, I wasn't doing anything then.
Just,
And so we did. We got
It's
up
an
under it
open-
as far as we could.
it was in an open field.
And it pretty soon, it wasn't just a few seconds, and it hit. And I mean sand and tree limbs and everything went. And I held on to Rhonda and
Randy held on the wrist.
Rich until it passed on by. Well, then Randy said, "Mom, I'm going to get out and see where it is." I said, "No, you're not, because there's an eye to those things." Because I'd been in enough of them to know. I said, "You wait until it passes again, and then you can." It wasn't just a little bit until it did it again, and then we crawled out.
Yeah.
But the car was covered completely with branches. We were all okay, only the sand and everything hit us hard. And then come to find out, my dad always told me, if you're in a tornado, you get out and get in the lowest place there is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what we did. But then, we couldn't get out because all the lines were down. So we couldn't walk out either way. Everybody was telling us on the other side, "Don't come across here." And of course, everybody in town, well, we did get to town. A guy come out in a pickup then and picked us up and took us back to town. And of course, the lines and everything were down. And I couldn't call Dad, and Mom and Dad were having a fit, and I couldn't call anybody. Well, when I walked into the schoolhouse, I thought the principal was going to have a heart attack. They had been out there already to see where we were at, and of course the car was sitting there with the doors open and tree limbs all over it, and we weren't anywhere to be found. And he just was speechless. And so he was calling around and telling everybody that we were all right, because they thought we had been blown away, and my purse was still in the car too.
Yeah.
I didn't even take it.
Highway patrol was out there, had been out there, yeah.
And how close is that to your house?
Well, it was quite a ways. It was,
3/4 mile, at least 3/4 mile to the southeast.
no, he meant where we was at from the tornado.
Oh.
It was on, how many miles on north, and then to get home, 3 or 4,
Yeah,
and then two or three to the east.
yeah.
And finally I said to this one guy, I said, I want to get home because I know I've got another son somewhere and I've got to see where he is. I'm not going to sit here and wait, you know, I just can't do it. And so I talked to this one guy that Dad had worked with, and I said, would you take me out there to the car and let me see if it'll run? Or else will you take me home, take us home? He said, yeah, I will. He said, I'll take you home, or I'll take you out to the car. And he took us out to the car and took the branches off of it, and it started. And I drove, he said, I'm going to follow you home, because they say a lot of time it'll suck the oil out of the car and things.
I
And
think about that.
we made it home, and Ron was sitting there on the front porch, and I was never glad to see a kid, and I'm sure it was the other way too, to see anybody, because we had that long driveway. And
The guy that had the dry cleaners was driving the bus.
and let him off at the end of the
Into the
driveway.
driveway, he said, I gotta get back to Little River, because that tornado had surely hit Little River.
And they'd already seen the house to the south of us was all gone.
Yeah.
So he knew that the tornado had hit close there, and then he let that child off at the end of the driveway. I was just frantic. I just told him, that bus driver, I had no respect for him after that whatsoever. And Ron, of course, was just scared to death, as we were too. But I was never so glad to see anybody. And he said, Mom, there wasn't any lights or anything, telephone or nothing. I said, I know, I know, and I'm sorry. I tried everything I could think of. And then, of course, we got in the house, and just a little bit, there was another one, you know, that we were coming to, and the kids were just frantic.
At least you're all together then.
Yeah, at least then we were all together, except Dad.
Oh,
He wasn't
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Then I came home that night, and
After dark.
then it was lightning, and I could see there was a tornado to the north, and then I come up on this farmstead, this big old 2-story house. There was nothing there but a baler sitting on the porch. That was it, completely gone. And I drove on, and I kept looking, straining, looking for light, and then I saw the yard light was on at the house. When I, 3/4 mile to the east of the house, I got up there. I drove in, and I came in, and I said, "A tornado has destroyed the house." She says, "I know, I was in it." Then they started all crying.
We knew there was one. We know. So I know that's why your dad to this day still watches the weather and everything. I know that that's why.
Yeah.
And he did before that, but he does a lot more now than he did then. And I read a paper he wrote in school, and it just got me about him doing that and sitting there waiting for his family to come home.
Really?
Yeah.
Goodness. Broke my heart, I tell you.
Yeah, the next morning we went our normal route to go into town. Well, they'd had 6 inches of rain, and the water was wave, so we had to turn around and come all the way back and go back around the east side and go clear down to the
Oh.
highway to get back
Whoops.
into Little River.
Whoopsie. And so we worked then all that day cleaning up, helping people clean up in there, because it was a mess.
I went and tore out carpets in the houses that were flooded because they're not going to salvage it. There's no way. Once it's covered with that muddy water.
But we had such fun on the farm, and I know Ron and all of them remember it, because we had friends that we had out there all the time. They had a boy, Jerry Joe, that was about their age, and Bob and Mary Williams, which their boys was about that age, and they'd come over and they rode bicycles and they rode horses and they'd done everything. Because we had that big airport hangar out there, and we cleaned it out. We borrowed Grandpa's Ford tractor and pickup, our truck, and brought it down from that city and cleaned that place out. And that's where Randy had his graduation party. we put the hay bales and everything. It was huge. It was like an airport hangar, you know. And everybody, all the kids came out there for graduation party. So we had lots of fun. They hunted pheasants, and we always had big meals and firecrackers. Oh, everybody come out for firecrackers.
Yeah.
And
Bottle rockets.
Huh?
They'd have
Bottle
bottle rocket
rockets.
wars, yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing about those.
Do you?
Yeah.
That house up there, that we had a veranda on the top of it. And Ron and them would stand on the top of that, and Rich and Randy, and shoot bottle rockets over at the next door people. Oh, I don't know how they kept from getting in trouble. I just have no idea. I didn't always know they was doing it. That was quite a house, you know, and we bid on it and got it for little $8,000, I think, or
No,
something.
less than that,
Less than that.
yeah.
And it had no kitchen at all in it, you know, or anything in it. It had marble fireplaces, but it didn't.
No kitchen?
No kitchen. Oh, those ones hi sugar, hi. Ones they had just put in, just set there, you know, and then we built another bathroom in and tore down a lot of the ceilings and walls and everything, and had sliding doors that went into the walls, you know, went back in the wall.
Pocket doors.
Pocket doors, I call them. I remember Veronica getting her bath up on the table. She was little. Yes, I do too, honey. Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. Yes, it was too. Yes, it was. Yeah. This is a good baby. So good. And then what, honey? Now what?
The next, I think this is from Randy, but Papa, I guess you had surgery back when it was really major surgery.
Yeah, and he coached ball. Dad coached ball every summer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, every summer. And he got hit with the ball, actually, where you don't want to get hit with the ball. And he had to have surgery. I don't know if they removed one. I don't think.
No.
I don't think
It
they
is
removed
split
it,
and they had
but
to
they split
put it
it.
back
They had
together.
to put it back together. And
I was watching, Ron was pitching and I was watching the guys, I was catching and I was watching how they hit at the ball. And I took my eye off the ball for just a minute and I didn't catch it.
he caught it all right, but on the right way.
That sounds still pretty major.
Yeah, it was. And he had it done in Lindsburg.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Not so
Done in
line
Lindsburg.
on McPherson, Lindsburg.
Lindsburg, yep.
Yep, that's where our doctor was, Lindsburg.
Yeah, he didn't think it was very, well, he'd been taking liquid out of it for about 2 weeks. And he said, well, I think we're going to have surgery. So. And
Yeah.
it was much worse than what he thought it was after he got in.
That
Which
didn't
doctor
stop
was
him
it,
from-
do you remember?
No,
Can't remember his name.
Fredrickson or
Fredrickson.
something like
Dwayne
that.
Fredrickson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still there, he's a member of the church.
Is he really? Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
You remember a couple of years ago, well, before we got engaged, when I was in the hospital sick
Yeah.
around Christmas, he was the doctor.
Oh, no,
Really? Oh my
No, he
gosh.
was a very young.
Yeah, he
At
just
that time.
retired here in the last year.
Isn't that something?
Okay.
Small world.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Well, I didn't know because there was also Dr. David Clark, and he started out in western Kansas and then he ended up in Lindsburg.
There was another
Okay.
one there besides Frederick, but he
Yeah.
was the main one that
Yeah.
did the operation.
Yeah.
on Dad.
Huh.
Isn't that something?
Oh, he switched.
But we coached, from the time the boys played ball in scouts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dad coached in Hutchinson. And of course, they're the doctors and all in there. They thought their boys should play all the time. And if Dad didn't always
Well,
put them in, he
and
let
those-
them.
Those kids didn't even know
I'm
what hand to put
sorry.
the glove on.
I'm sorry you had such a hard time. Yes.
When Ron was 8-year-old, I took it to 8-year-old, first time they've ever
Yeah,
played
I'm
ball.
sorry. What?
And I made every one of them catch 1 inning.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped them out in the field. And they from the first to hit the ball, they turned their heads. They'd never catch a ball because they turned their head. As soon as you hit the ball, their head was turned and the ball would go over here or over there. They never moved. They just turned their head away. And I said, you're all going to catch 1 inning.
And I think everybody needs, and he did that. He had
And
changed.
then
around
after
so he played.
we played the first year, even before we finished the first year, I was getting phone calls from other mothers that wanted their sons to play for our team.
Martine.
Because I never once hollered at one kid if he made a mistake.
And he never played favorites. He never was a favorite one that played. And then he coached in the Little River. He
We had-
coached girls softball.
We had a left-handed pitcher. His dad was a big shot of Cessna there in Hutchinson, and he could throw smoke. I mean, he had power
Whoops.
behind him.
Yeah.
He played center field when he played after he pitched 3 innings, and then Ron would pitch 3 innings. Well, Ron didn't throw any smoke, but he could hit the corners, and those kids would swing way before the ball got
You
there.
call that
They
your
was used to
swan
that
dive
hard
there?
pitching.
Did you see her on?
Yep.
Doug brought off her mom's lap right on her nose.
She's got places to go.
Oh, goodness.
And then when Clay Rothy come up against us, he batted left-handed, so I'd put the shift on. Ron played second base, so Ron played mid right field, and I'd have the shortstop would play between second and third. I mean, not shortstop, third baseman. The shortstop was over on this side of second base, so I had all the players, and I had the left fielder move clear over almost to center field against him, and Clay never got a hit against us. I shifted. Everybody goes, "Where do you learn that shift?" I says, "Just trust me. I know what's going to happen." Then we had the bases loaded and 1 out, and I called time and went out and talked to the pitcher, but I called all the infielders in. I said, "Catch the ball, step on the bag next to you. The bases are loaded. They're going to be running at the crack of the bat. Just step on the base." And the kid that caught the ball, he had his eyes shut, but he caught it.
But he
They were
caught
right in his glove, but he stepped on the bag. We had a double play. Nobody scored.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yep.
And Grandpa coached me when I was in softball, when we played it. Still got time?
Yeah, a few more
We
minutes.
we had a girls softball team that I played on, and Dad and I were going together, and he was coached us.
Huh.
We went to
Yep.
Dodge City and all around and played. Yes, we did too, honey. Yeah. Grandma got hurt a couple times. Yeah. Yeah. Got my ankle hurt once. Sprayed, or got a doctor, I can remember the old doctor, old farm doctor. He was the best one there was. Well, he was a good one then. And he
The doctor that delivered Randy
sprayed
delivered
stuff
her.
on.
Really?
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. I thought that was so neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now what?
Alright, we're gonna switch discs.
Okay, I got
Time is-
to run down.
You're gonna run where?
Down there in a minute, because I'm not got something on.